and thanks for staying with us. Customs hand over drugs to NDLA in Ogun State. Some customs reports Edo Delta Command generate more revenue for the government. Plus, more report. I am Egiseme Idinye. Stay tuned. The Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service has said that customs will always implement any policies that will stop drugs importation into Nigeria. He also said that customs will never allow anybody to import or export banned drugs outside the country. He made a pledge when he signed an agreement with the chairman of NDLA in Abuja. The customs board stated that drugs importers and exporters should stay off Nigerian border posts and airports.
Special opportunity to commend my senior brother for initiating this move. I must say something that probably you never know. General Marwa this is not new to us. Those of us who have been in uniform and haven't had the opportunity of serving along with him. He's a game player and a game changer. So when I was told, and my attention was drawn to this initiative, for my colleagues, of course, it looks new. But for me, I know that is the trend of my good senior brother. So I want to thank you most profoundly for initiating this event and, of course, for creating an avenue for us to synergize and come up with a very veritable way of fighting illicit trafficking of drugs in this great nation. We are indeed very grateful to have been incorporated in this your thought, and we want to assure you that the entire Nigerian Customs Service will be behind this MOU. Our resolute is to ensure at any given time, and we do intercept as much as we know internally and at the borders. Most of the time cannabis, most of the time illicit drugs, and most especially at the airports. And I believe that our synergy and collaboration will certainly make an impact in reducing to the barest level this menace of drug trafficking. I would not say we will eradicate. It will be too ambitious, because I have discovered in the course of our working with the customs, I believe that smuggling is enshrined in human beings.
The national chairman of NDLA also commended customs management for helping NDLA to fight against drug importations and exportations outside the country.
It contains a number of innovations that will encourage interpersonal relationship amongst the rank and file, as well as at the various levels of command and administration of both organizations. It provides for joint training of personnel, just as it makes provisions for regular meetings of command officers at the various levels of our command structures. These are the meetings of commanders and controllers of the various relevant formations at the relevant directorates and departments of the national headquarters, and at the highest level of policy making between the Comptroller General of Customs and the Chairman Chief Executive Officer of the NDLEA, which meeting is expected to take place at least twice every year. The expected outcome of these series of interactions is to foster better understanding of the respective roles and mandates of our two organizations and how they complement one another in a mutually inclusive way. The ultimate objective is to dissolve suspicion friction, and general interagency rivalry that does not do our nation any good in terms of effectively securing the entry and exit points of our dear country. This will provide an effective defense line at our various ports of entry and exit to prevent the influx of offensive materials and substances that undermine our national security and ensure that our national assets are not smuggled out to undermine our economic progress and stability. The MOU is a benchmark for information and intelligence sharing. It is also a platform for sharing of operational and administrative experiences with a view to adopting best practices that work.
According to them, the agreement will enable both parties to see to the end of importation of drugs in the country. The Controller General speaks further on the agreement with NDLEA in Abuja.
That we and NDLEA must create an avenue that every case we hand over, we'll put it in our database, and we would appreciate at the end of the day to have a feedback as to the outcome of what has happened to that case. This will certainly encourage our own officers to do more, knowing that if we intercept and hand over, that at the end of the day, something will be done. Even if they walk free, at least we should be told that they were able to defend themselves and therefore they walk free. It is not the job of NDLEA to decide the case. It is the job of the court. So we know what could happen in the court. But we actually would be encouraged to have a feedback so that we can now have a way of convincing our junior officers that you must go the way of the MOU. Lastly, without lecturing anyone here, I want to, sir, appreciate you and thank you for serving this great nation. We have been in the thick and thin of it. We are still working hard, and I hope and looking forward to the day we will retire for the young ones to carry on from there. I was encountered by a young man, and when he said, "Sir, you said you want the young men to take over." I said, "Yes, I'm more than eager, and I want the young men to take over so that I can go and tender my gardens and also look after my grandchildren. But," and I said, "but the youth must be ready to take over. Your attitude must be different from what I'm seeing. Your composure and commitment must show that you are ready to take over."
The Ogun 1 Customs Command has seized over 181 contraband items with a duty-paid value of over 700 million naira for smugglers operating along the nation's borderline. The command also generated over 44 million naira within the first quarter of 2023. The controller warned importers and exporters to stop destroying the nation's economy through smuggling of consignment into the country.
The command generated a total sum of 44,857,053 naira and 50 kobo only as revenue in the period under review. The proceeds of the revenue consist of duty collected of merchandise and baggage, auction sales of scrap vehicles, and petroleum products. In comparison, the above generated revenue is higher than the sum of 5,512,901 naira and 50 kobo collected as revenue in the same period in the year 2022. May I reiterate that the revenue activities of the command comprises importation and exportation of legitimate goods, goods under the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ATLS, and assessment of merchandise and baggage. The command is working hard to promote export business in order to shore up the forex earning of the country. Suppression of smuggling. The command recorded a total seizure of 181 goods, which include 12,610 bags of smuggled foreign parboiled rice of 50 kilograms each, and 25 kilograms each, which is an equivalent of 21 trailer loads.
You also handed over 6 drugs to NDLA commandant in Ogun State.
We have the synergy, and even just some days ago, our Comptroller General was with Brigadier General Marwa. They signed an MOU, but before the MOU, we have been collaborating, and we have been, this is not the first time we are doing this. So on behalf of the Comptroller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, we are telling the NDLEA that as organs of government, we share the same purposes but with different mandates. And we are on ground to assist in whichever way possible to share intelligence in furtherance of their mission and vision. And the same thing with NDLEA.
Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa retired. I am very pleased to take over this drugs transferred from the commander or from the controller Ogun 1 Command of the Nigeria Customs Service, Controller Bamidele Makinde, FSI MNI. This is a significant testimony of the viable collaboration which has existed since the inception of NDLEA between both organizations. And like he has said, both chief executives day before yesterday on the 4th signed an MOU which is aimed at holistically fighting drug trafficking in Nigeria, and also to create a platform for operational and administrative experiences shared between both organizations in order to further strengthen our country and secure our country from these hoodlums who have decided to hold us hostage with this nefarious trade they have decided to go into. But you can see that we are ensuring that our security architecture will be enhanced with the collaboration that is existing and will be further strengthened with demonstrations such as this.
You are watching the program Customs Report. The Edo Delta Command of Nigerian Customs Service has continued to increase the revenue targets of the service to millions of naira as approved by government. The command has also increased the number of factories to create more revenue for the nation.
Over 700 million. 700 million, over 700 million. And with that, I think it's unprecedented in the port to have, we're going to have over, what we actually mentioned was 10.9 billion. But by the time the excise for March comes in, it will be in excess of 11 billion. Because excise doesn't come in until the preceding months. So by the time the excise for March is now recorded, we'll have over 11 billion for the first quarter. So this is unprecedented as far as this port is concerned. So I'm very, very optimistic that with the level of stakeholder engagement we are enjoying, we intend to leverage on this, and we believe that it will translate into higher revenue. It's unprecedented that you have about 5 major capital projects going on in a command at a time. All these are geared towards improvement in the welfare of officers, where you see barracks being renovated, new barracks being constructed, warehouse being constructed. I have never, in my 30 years stint in the service, I've never witnessed that. This is the very first time. So with that, we believe to whom much is given, much is expected. The other area of concern, just as I mentioned during my press briefing, is the area of security. There's this perceived security issues around Warri, and this, in a way, seems to send jitters to spines of would-be importers and traders. But it's no longer the way it used to be. It's more of being perceived than real. This issue about Warri, it's not real.
The could say that he has issued more debit notes to importers who are refusing to pay correct duty to government. He speaks on a number of issues.
The smuggling aspect of
the job here is being anchored by the Federal Operations Unit Zone C, the Strike Force, and the Border Drill. So those are the 3 units that handle the anti-smuggling as far as the command is concerned. That's been done. That's why the warehouse, that explains why our government warehouse is at Benin City. So that's where the seizures are kept. But
the Federal Operation Unit Zone C has seized smuggling scale, tramadol, codeine, and other items worth over 2.75 billion naira. The zone also arrested 13 suspects in connection with the seizures within the period under review from January to March 2023. The acting controller said that the unit also seized sacks of cannabis from smugglers.
They were concealed with electronics. We got the seizure through intelligence information from where they were loading it. So we have to run after them and pick.
You have people?
And when you release them, they sometimes go from there. So I want to find out who prosecutes them. Is it the customs or the NDLEA?
This, we will hand over this to NDLEA because it's their duty. Yeah. After we arrest, after our investigation, we send the defender to them.
They prosecute?
Yes. So you can see how our young ones abuse it. That will cause a lot of havoc they are doing around the streets. So that's why we are out to watch for it.
It speaks more on other issues, alongside the seizure of 3 bulletproof cars imported to the country.
It's a controlled item. There's nothing wrong bringing in bulletproof, but you have to pass through the office of NSA, at least to give you approval, so that we know the number, the quantity of this vehicle in the country. There's no wrong, but a lot of people beat this system by not going through that process. That's why we pick it. The same thing applies to with the other one we just mentioned now. It's a bulletproof as well. Carried by AA Logistics. Of the country. Only God knows what will happen if this item, especially the hard drugs, get to their destination unchecked, considering the security implication. The interception of these items and other previous related seizure further justify why you see our field operative on surveillance patrol along our highway within our area of jurisdiction as empowered by Section 158, Section 149, and Section 150 of Custom and Exercise Management Act, Cap C 45 LFN 2004, which allow custom officers to patrol freely, search vehicles and persons respectively. I wish to seek the serenity and cooperation of all our stakeholders and the general public to kindly humbly comply when stopped for search.
The Federal Operation Unit Zone A has continued to seize contraband items for smugglers who are refusing to pay custom duty to government. The acting controller said that the customs will also fight smugglers who are smuggling items through the unapproved routes into the country.
Gave rise to the underlisted seizures with the duty paid value of 694,462,150 naira only. Among the items seized are 1. Rice, with the total of 6,228 bags of 50 kg, equivalent to 11 trailer load. Premium motor spirit, 1,413 kegs of 25 liters each, equivalent to 35,325 liters. Used clothing, 883 bales in 2x40-foot containers. Used vehicles, 8. Frozen poultry products, 279 cartons. India hemp, otherwise known as cannabis sativa, 105 pesos, equivalent to 50 kg. Used motorcycles, 4 units as means of conveyance. Used shoes, 9 sacks. Vegetable oil, 88 kegs of 4.73 liters. Associated with some of these seizures was the arrest of 5 suspects, all of whom are in custody to face prosecution. With regards to revenue recovery arising from several interceptions of containers for transfer of value, low value, wrong classification, and wrong declaration, the unit recovered a total of 72,693,307 naira 9 kobo. In addition, with other fees and proceeds from public auction sales of premium motor spirits. During our last press briefing, we reported the busting of a syndicate that forged customs clearing documents and those who smuggled used vehicles from Benin Republic to Nigeria. As an update, 2 suspects and items recovered from their office had been transferred to headquarters Abuja for further investigation. Meanwhile, the unit made another interception of a smuggled car and arrest of 2 suspects, ostensibly linked to the same forgery syndicate, with plans to smuggle over 6,000 vehicles using fake papers.
The commandant of Customs Training College, Ikeja, has visited the chamber of Rotimi Williams in Lagos. According to him, the new intake into the college will learn more about laws in Nigeria.
Said earlier on, we're trying to add value to the college. We're trying to move away from how things were done before. And this law firm is a platform for us to build our cadets who were recruited as lawyers. As you can see, during the tour of the library, you can see how loaded this library is. I'm very sure our cadets will live to remember, particularly as it has a connection with Chief Rotimi Williams.
While members of Rotimi Williams also speaks on the number of issues regarding to the visit of the commandant to their chamber in Lagos.
That within this library, which I must say has always been regarded as a very well-stocked library that affords a lot of law reports and substantive law books on various aspects of law, not only in Nigeria, but from other jurisdictions. The English reports, we have the New Zealand reports, we have American reports, we have several other jurisdictions. As long as they are common law, what the law refers to as common law is the basis of the kind of law we are practicing. And we inherited this from the British people.
What we want to do is almost, as you know, we want to teach, and we want them to learn, and we want them to understand this is how we can grow the customs unit to make people more aware of the situation, and even make the people within customs aware of this is the procedure, this is what you have to do, and if we can work together, I think it's better in the long run for Nigeria.
Just before I round up this week edition of the program Customs Report, we brought you a report where seizures worth millions of naira was intercepted by some commands in the country. For me, Igeseme Etinye, thanks for watching.